Hello guys, glad to have you on board again. Today it was supposed to be a live session and we actually did record one, but the thing is that I was pretty much disappointed with the end result, pretty much below my usual standards, and as it comes to educational content I would like to delete something that doesn't worth the value rather than letting it and stuff like that. So anyway, we've done a live topic for this today. It's just I rather like to delete this one and record another one safely for the educational content for those who are watching this over replay to be meeting the usual standard rather than that doesn't. So anyway, let's get it started. Today was about how you must put some structure regarding the way you get to learn my strategy, or actually any other strategy, because that obviously fit this one. But like I told you, there's just a process for everyone to reach out to get into trading. There are some rules, and if you try to bend them or go any different, you're just going to lose quite a significant amount of time, simply because that's no certainty. I haven't cracked the code. It's just I have my own retrospective of how I managed to get there. And the thing is that I've been talking to other traders and I've been somehow profiling most of the traders, at least people I'm never 100% sure, but at least I've got enough confidence about the fact they're real traders. All right, there's so many liars out there, obviously you know about that, but we're not here to talk about them, mostly focusing on those who are actually worth investigating, working around and stuff like that. So they all have some similarities in the way we all got there. So it must not be just random shit. It's more like something is recurring in the way we all process our way throughout trading. We all started being assholes, or right, we just all started noobs and we walked our way up. That's exactly what we're trying to assess today. You already know about most of what I'm telling you today, and this is the reason why I'm going to try putting it into another perspective. So today we're going to join into psychological behaviors and biases that may somehow slow you down throughout this path. You know that recently, in order to make things easier and more and easier for you guys to understand, I've been using a color code into Discord, and now we're doing it as well into YouTube videos in the daily basis to just spread out content toward different levels of difficulty. So today, in those educational shows, I cannot split up to different levels of difficulty, so you're gonna have to do the hard job on your own, just like I'm trying to do as much as I can to explain whoever which thing is dedicated to. But I'm gonna have to mix. I'm gonna have to talk about white guys, beginners in here today. I'm gonna have to talk about people who learned the strategy and somehow figured out the rule, the green guys, and I'm gonna have to talk about the yellow guys as well. So the thing is that each one of you guys needs to be aware of where you currently are, where you're heading to, and though which one of the tips I'm going to give you today are meant for you, which one you probably already passed if you're already green or yellow, and which one is eventually waiting for you when the time comes. I mean, especially like the things I'm going to give to yellow guys today. If you're white guy, then eventually that might be worthwhile in the future, but not necessarily and absolutely not right now. So don't try to use yellow stuff when you're still white. All right, be rational. I can't stress that enough. I know people tend to get to harder difficulties because they think that they're going to lead us to reach out to the destination faster. The reason and the actual only reason for this is generally the lack of patience. And that's a really dangerous new bias. You need to fight that any fucking way. You can put it however you want. I've never seen anyone being a profitable long-term trader in less than 2 years. Though 2 years is a strict minimum to get there. So you can put it however you want. You can put it in any different order. There is a path. We all followed it. It took us more or less time. It all depends on all the individuals. There is no general rule. All I can tell you is that even the fastest one I've ever seen took 2 years to get there. So, and 2 years is probably the fastest I've ever seen. So be really cautious. Know that this is patient. You can try to rush things. It's never going to work. It's generally even going to lead you to more traps in the meantime. because that's exactly what this thing is about. Anyway, so I'm going to give you kind of an analogy, because that's what I generally like to do in order to help you understanding things, because trading is like a different dimension in which the laws of physics we're used to see and used to feel with to feel on day-to-day basis are somehow altered. For simple reasons, humans are into trading, but not all the humans. All right, so just a part of humans who actually ended up following somehow it's the same set of rules. Like I said, those rules might be varying trader to trader, and each trader is unique, but somehow we all follow a same set of rules that I generally tend to call risk management, which is not necessarily black and white rules. And this is how trading gets complicated, because actually explaining trading to someone who hasn't yet got there is the hardest thing to do. Like I tell you, I'm trying to explain something to you that I hope you'll ever be able to figure out someday, but I definitely know that most of you guys still don't. So it's like talking to you about something that you can't understand. Though I'm trying to put you into the right direction and the right track to have a glimpse of what this could be like and what you should head toward too. But still, rushing is what you guys will feel. You feel like, all right, now you get it, you know where to go, so you're gonna rush things out, and that's definitely not the best choice you could make out there. Though, let's make a quick introduction and before getting into that analogy, remind you about the two new biases, things you should already know by now if you've been watching previous videos, because that's still all over the time. It's always the same stuff that shows up and slows you down in the past, just basically because these are false friends leading you to easy and simple decisions, simply not even matching what you should lead to and get toward to. So that says the same old stuff, the lack of patience. So impatience leads you to bad decision-making process, because impatience triggers an irrational stress reaction. And the same thing goes with the fear for uncertainty. Like, trading is surrounded by chaos, and chaos just brings natural fear for normal human beings. Though this fear is somehow manageable, like 80% of times, or 20% of times it gets out of control, triggers irrational reactions, and just those irrational reactions, put it one after another, can lead to significant waste of time. Simply because you're going to make decisions that are going to feel like the most rational and simple decision to make, but they'll just lead you on the opposite way of what you should actually rationally, cold-blood decision kind of choice making. Let's give you a quick example, all right? You know that every strategy is not perfect. The perfect strategy just doesn't exist. So what most people do when they get to learn, right? I'm talking about the white guys in here. So we start as low as possible in terms of experience. The first way and typical mistake people get when they fear for the fear of uncertainty bias is generally like, all right, you learned the strategy, you learned it the hard way, you put a lot of efforts to learning the rules, stuff like that, whatever, you thought you really got it, and either you make a tiny mistake, right, just a tiny stuff, or moreover, it's just that the strategy is more complex than you actually figured it was, so you just missed a few things, and that's generally causing misconceptions, and obviously most of the time leading to losses. Though the problem is, as you still can't process winnings and losses, losses have a much more deep impact on you and on your psychological behaviors, all right? Though the problem is, when you start losing, you figured out that you must have wasted your time, so, right, lack of patience, I've been putting a lot of efforts and I don't reward, I can't yield the benefits of those investments in time, all right? I invested times and efforts, and I still can't fucking get a yielding for this. I can't get rewarded. Though, like I said, rationally speaking, you know it takes 2 fucking years. So how the hell could you reward anything and could you yield any benefits immediately? All right? You're going to invest a lot of time and effort into this if you ever want to make it. That's how it is. So put it yourself out of a reality. If you want financial rewards at the beginning of a learn and tough learn process, then god damn it, you're simply irrational and you know it. Though those decisions you might make because you need money, they're irrational, though you need to flush them out because it's simply not cold-blooded decision. It's most likely due to a natural bias. The second one, like I told you, is when something will go wrong. You've got multiple choices. Either you accept that anyway things will go wrong at some point and you got to live with it. You can't control any fucking thing. And some trades, even how hard you risk manage, will simply end up in a loss. And that's just how it is. It's inevitable and there's nothing you can do to avoid it. It's just accepting the inevitable. It's goddamn hard for human being to somehow release, let go. It's goddamn hard. Because that's what we've been taught, all right? We've been taught since our younger years that when there is a problem, we can figure it out. In trading, you can try figuring that shit out all along your life. You'll never figure it out. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I've been talking to some traders who have much more experience than I do, and we all got to some point, and that point doesn't take 10 or 20 years to get there. We all let it go at a moment. And that's actually the day we started to actually figure out the most important thing, risk management. Though you know the process, all right? When you start learning, I tell you, no matter how hard I try, you guys still get into those flows for the same two biases, into either bending the rules of the strategy or even worse than that, changing strategies one after another until you're seeking to desperately finding the perfect one, which never will come. But don't change. It's like a medical trial, all right? That's another analogy, but this one you'll really easily understand it. If you want to get statistical results, like you're trying to test some medicine out of some human beings and you want to test the reaction. Is it positive reaction, negative reaction? Is it actually benefiting to take that pill, all right? Let's make that simple, all right? We've got a pill. We don't know what shit it does, but we want to know if it's better or not trying to cure some disease. So we take some people having that disease, first of all, and we set a set of rules to frame that shit, all right? Like, this pill must be taken at lunch, not in the breakfast, which means if someone along the trial takes the pill on the morning, then that simply doesn't work. It just changes the process. Though everyone needs to follow the rules, just like you need to follow your goddamn rules for each and every trade. Consider the patient in the trial as being a trade. You always need to follow the rules. If you take the pill and in an appropriate time scale, then you simply fucked up the results. All right? You can fuck up one trade eventually that that won't necessarily change the whole process. But if many people just doesn't follow the rules, just like you will follow different rules on many trades, then there's simply absolutely not a single value out of the statistics you can put out of this trial. All right? So you need to put a frame and stick to it. Otherwise, you simply lose every statistical advantage. Though you might feel at some point that things doesn't work as they should, all right? Like you assess things as as being right or wrong. When you take a trade, it's right or wrong. Like I told you, it's normal. It's a natural bias from human. You're gonna have to judge out of this, and humans have a nasty trend to judge easily. Like you want to go easy, you just got into 5 losses, though something must be wrong. No, it might be just part of the game. You still don't know what the fucking game is, so why the hell would you start changing and bending the rules as I just told you not to? Though the thing is that you doing it anyway is understandable. Like I told you, even how hard I can tell it and how much I can repeat it, I know people still tend to do the mistakes anyway, so some people have to. The thing is that do the mistake, fine, do it 1, do it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, but at some point get to learn that I'm just here to help, all right? You don't know me, obviously. I'm some guy in front of a computer, all right? Most of you guys haven't met me in person. Some of you actually did. I mean, I know some of you because I've been traveling and meeting you in person, so all right, that's fine. I mean, you can eventually figure out that I can be a trustful person, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what you think. But what's important is that if I give you advices, all right, and you fall into those traps 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row, then at some point you might be figuring out, all right, maybe the guy knew it's shit, and maybe I should have listened the first time, though maybe the next one I'll listen to him a little bit faster. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Not forcing you to absolutely blindly follow whatever I'm going to say in here, but most likely you ringing some bells when you do some things in a repetitive pattern, and that you can't figure out the outcome and the output of this inner circle, circling around the same problem all over again, then I just want to talk about this thing and then bang, oh damn it, he said that's it, all right, and now I know how to get the fuck out of here. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here, just helping you figuring out the real solutions to the problems you still can't figure out, because you're most of the time into loopholes that are induced by natural human biases. I've been there before, I've been circling around that shit, I've been losing quite a significant amount of times. I'm just trying to save you some, all right? So now that's being said, let's start with the why, guys. Though the natural biases, like I told you, it's always going to circle around the same two shits: lack of patience and lack of uncertainty. Though it's going to push you to switch between strategies. Like you're going to say, all right, this strategy doesn't work, so I'm going to try another one. All right, that's simple as that. You just fucked up the previous trial and you're going to start another one. You're probably going to fuck this one as well, because that's how it is. All right, if any time it fails, you change, you simply going to fail every fucking time you're going to try to change. All right, to get the benefits, you might have to accept that things can go out of control at some point. Just trust me, all right? It's a waste of time to trying to go everywhere, all over the web, trying to find for a better strategy than the one you have right now. There are definitely better strategies, but they are actually all equal. Like I told you, you might figure out they're better at this given time. All right, because at a given time, let's call that for a week or for a month, some strategy might be better than others. Yes. Now, average them for years. They're all the same. They're really, really all the same. The only difference is how they risk manage. All right. Obviously, tight risk management means bigger gains, but you need to manage those risks accordingly. All right. We're going to explain that on the second stage. So the strategy, like we already know, is just a set of rules to introduce you to trading safely. All right. Strategies, the dumbest strategy are generally black and white, so they teach you a simple pattern in which you can buy and sell, and that's a magic tool like you can use in every market condition, whatever. Obviously, if you try those strategies, you'll rapidly end up in the dark corner in which they don't work for obvious reasons. But the thing is, I'm not going down this road, all right? I'm trying to teach you trading just like professionals do trade. The thing is that I put you into harder difficulties, though it's complicated at the beginning, but I'm not making things easy for you. I'm just trying to make them a little bit easier, all right? But yeah, I'm learning you, I'm teaching you stuff the tough way. Like I'm not hiding you how things actually works. I show you, you obviously can't do it now, but I'll show you how you must be aiming toward to. That's what I do, all right? So, what guys, learn the strategy. You can waste as much time as you want into those two usual biases. I've been talking about them long enough, so let's switch to the green guys, all right? So, the green guys problem is generally how to put it into words. The thing is that as you get to learn the strategy and understand that, yes, it actually provides more gains than losses, you'll still have a lot of problems still surrounding, lots of things that you're going to have to sort in order to eventually get fully profitable afterwards, because at this time you simply reduced the losses. You might still be losing a bit, all right, just a bit. Normally at that stage you don't take huge drawdowns like any beginner could have. You're pretty much flat or tiny positive flat or tinily negative flat, all right, but close to flat. You're not making money, to be honest, all right? You're trading, you're making some gains, you're making some losses, and everything goes somehow average. For many reasons. First of all, when you're green, you start making mistakes in applying the strategy. The strategy is complex, and it's generally by making mistakes that you're learning not to replicate, all right? Though you have to make mistakes, and you still do at that given time. The second thing is that you're still under some other biases. Remember that the new biases is fear of uncertainty and lack of patience. You're still suffering from them, you just manage them a little bit better, because the strategy is meant to minimize the impact of those two, certainly not erasing them. You're not erasing, you're not being a different person, you're just limiting the effects they could have and the negative effects they could have into your decision-making process. That's it. By putting a framework, you simply have very, very few chances for personal appreciations like personal biases or stuff like that. The strategy is just meant to reduce their impact so they can naturally disappear through time. Right? Those biases will naturally be destroyed through time, and they end up being fully under control when you actually get to learn risk management. Though when you're green and you become yellow, this is at that point where impatience doesn't nearly impact you anymore into trading, and the fear of uncertainty, you truly figured out at that time that this is just noob bullshit. You don't fear about trading because you simply figured out this is not about one trade, this is not about 5 trades, it's not about 10 trades, it's about 100 trades, and you can't get statistical results and positive rewards out of 10 trades. You must wait for 100. Though, in order to take 100 fucking trades, you need to risk less on a single trade basis. You stop betting, you get into trading, and you truly figured out how it works at that stage. Though you stop being emotional with a single trade, you're more like a robot seeking for patterns. The problem is, when I teach you the strategy as a green guy, all right, you have very few patterns I allow you to trade, like excessive markets, not for you, you can't trade them. Problem, when the market is nervous, it's going to be emotional, it's going to be irrational, and you just can't trade that. So when it's actually getting interesting for me, you guys can't trade. Though I know that's boring, I know you're going to try crossing those lines anyway, you'll try out and you'll probably end up with losses. Though you'll get back into the safe area, which is consider the strategy as a safe bubble, all right? You're in there, it works out. You try to step away too fast, too dangerous, bam, you're going to take a slap and go back in there. So I don't blame you trying to get out of the bubble. All I care is you getting back there, all right? Because I'm trying to build a safe area for you, and I know you're safe in there. I know it's dangerous for you out there if you're not mature enough to handle this, all right? So learn the strategy. Trust me, even if you can't trust me, then just move it anywhere else and try out for yourself, try out endlessly until you actually figured out, God damn it, the guy was wrong, the guy was right. So anyway, all right, learn a fucking strategy, mine or anyone else, just make sure the strategy is teaching you risk management, though black and white solutions, just absolutely noobs. These guys are definitely not traders. But still, you need to have shaded grays perception. Like I told you, you need to have multiple things. Like I told you, there's not just one signal, it's a multiple signal. It must be contextualized and stuff like that. This is the core basis of a true risk managing strategy. But now that you're green, like I told you, you're going to feel like you're controlling things. You're not controlling any fucking thing. And that's the same old problem. Because you weren't understanding anything back then. Now you understand that, all right? When you're green, you understand that anyway. When you were white, you were totally wrong. But now you're going to feel like, all right, maybe I started to figure out what the hell trading is about. It's all about patterns and stuff like that. That's great. No way. You don't understand any fucking thing yet. But you'll figure it out later on, all right? You'll figure out that you were stupid. When you'll become yellow, you'll say, all right, God damn it, I was stupid when I was green. And when you'll end up being orange, you'll say, all right, I wasn't nearly mature enough when I was yellow. But that's exactly it. When you reach out every step, what's going to slow you down is the illusion of control, all right? Remember that beginners suffer from fear of uncertainty, and they're seeking for control, all right? The problem afterwards is that you understand that fear of uncertainty isn't actually a problem, it's a false flag. But the thing is that you're still seeking for control anyway, because control is somehow much more comfortable than leading into chaos. Even if you accept chaos, you're still, if a little bit of control is nearby, you're going to try grasping it. All right, that's simple as that. And that's exactly what you're going to have when you're going to start getting into green and maturing with the application of the strategy. You're going to feel like you have it under control. You certainly don't, because there's still a lot of things you're going to have to figure out. What you just figured out is that, yes, fine, you finally managed to manage a strategy. That's great. First step. There are many others to come. The next one is that you're going to have to take more risk. The strategy rules, the ones given in the PDF manual, they're an introduction. Right? This is definitely not trading. You thought you were there. No, shit, Sherlock, there's still a lot to come. So now that you understood a few patterns, all right, I teach you very tough risk limitation patterns just to make sure you trade safe. All right, the goal in here is for you to feel things so you can control your emotions, the dangerous emotions, fear of uncertainty and stuff like that. Now that you get there, you're less affected by those emotions, but you're still a lot to go. What you need to do right now is start bending the rules. I'm not saying that you must do this before, right? First, you need to master. When you think you master the strategy and when things starts to get interesting, we're diving into subjective things, all right? You're going to have to try things. As you try new things, you're going to put yourself in danger. Though, first reaction, facing danger, you reduce the risk taking, all right? When you are an early green person, when I give yellow trades, you start trying to take those trades to understand why I do take those trades, but they don't respect the entire strategy, or they're riskier trades than the one I'm used to be doing, trading into ranges and stuff like that. I'm going to start forcing you to trade pullbacks, for example, or trying to trade accumulations, or early reversals actions. These things are riskier trades. There are things you're not really good at doing, though. Really minimum leverage as you get there, it's absolutely necessary, right? You're taking danger, a little bit more risk, though less risk taking, all right? Because you're still very much subject to some other set of emotions, which will be the natural other human biases like greed, overconfidence, all those stuff we're going to talk about into other videos, and these other things I'll talk about into the specific intermediate level videos on a day-to-day basis. I'll teach you how to manage those negative emotions, how they can impact, and how to detect you might be under those emotions. Anyway, that's for another day. But the yellow guy, the green to yellow process is all about it, like learning more patterns. All right, the patterns I teach you is how to manage a range, how to manage to detect breakout trades and stuff like that. But then you can trade riskier trades. Like I told you, the pullbacks have their own patterns. The reversal have some risk limitations as well. These are the trades you must start to take. You're probably going to fail them most of the time, but that's normal, all right? You're not here to make money with those patterns. You're here to get familiar with them. Simply because by repeating those patterns repeating trading on those patterns, you'll start figuring out what I call risk management. Because risk management, you can't even assess what that is when you're following rules, all right? Because I told you, my strategy has different levels of risk taking, all right, different types of signals, more or less aggressive. That helps you understanding that each trade is unique in terms of risk management, but that's just a glimpse of what it actually is going to be, right? By learning more strategy, you're going to learn that some signals can be partially traded. Like if you have a cluster of information in there and just an early signals or whatever, you can try getting in there. It's riskier, though you're going to reduce the risk taking, but these are things that will turn out to be natural as you lead to risk taking. When you're green, you need to start taking a little bit more risky trade, still following your core rules, which means when you see a goddamn range trade, take it and make money out of here. You master those trades, though profit from them, all right? But the trades you still don't yet master, the yellow trades, just take them with the minimum leverage. That's the toughest thing to do, because in here the trick and the trap is that you're going to mix the two. You're going to try, you're going to be profiting from those good old range trades that you know how to deal with, and you're going to say, all right, if I was doing the same with those those yellow trades that I'm taking, maybe I would finally be profitable. Remember, big problem, greed. You're trying to make fucking money, as you shouldn't nearly do this at that stage. You're learning trading. You're certainly not being profitable now. At least that's not your major goal. Though that's one of the many problems you'll come across. And as you'll finally get to be yellow, all right, though you figured out to limit greed impacts and stuff like that, all right, you have, at that point, Somehow you manage the trend trades, you manage early reversal trades, you can figure out a pullback, you know how to risk manage all those stuffs. Simply because, like I told you, risk managing is shadow gray area assessing, which means every pullback is different. They all follow the same set of rules, but they all have different levels of risk because the market never replicates itself the same way. It's always the same structure, but it's more or less risky at a given time. The pattern shows up, and that's what you need to learn. So learn how to play those patterns, then learn how to risk manage them, and then all you have in here is trading. That's it. Trading is all about having multiple patterns that have very tight risk management, and when the risk management is at its best, you're taking the risk. You're showing yourself out there. You're making the money because you master those things. You've been playing them so many times that they feel like natural. And actually, risk managing, what I call the risk management, the risk manager, the trader, is something that just ripples through time. As you get to respect rules and follow a strategy, always following the same set of rules and stuff like that, you're going to start understanding these nuances, these gray areas. They'll naturally show up for a simple reason, all right? That's what human beings are meant to be. That's how our brain works in terms of structure. Just a quick example that will explain it all and make it more concrete. Easier for you to understand is if you are subject to recurring pain, just like take an example, something that is not necessarily like a huge amount of pain, just take it, all right, you've got a, okay, damn it, I can't figure out a decent example, but anyway, all right, something painful shows up every day, all right, you get the pain one day, pain another day, pain another fucking day. At some point, your brain just put it down the sensitivity level. It's simple as that. By naturally being exposed to pain on a day-to-day basis, your brain just feels less pain. That's exactly how it goes with trading. The irrational natural biases you've got, the more you fight them, the more they disappear naturally, which means you don't have to actively fight against them. They naturally disappear. And that's exactly how it goes as well with the patterns, all right? First, you follow rules that guide you into the right direction, and then you start making it so many times that you actually do it naturally. You no longer follow the rules. You no longer have to check every rule like a checklist. You basically figure it out. You've seen the context so many times that you can naturally even detect them without indications. Right? At that time, having the indication is still a backup because it makes sure that you're not hallucinating. You're still seeing stuff, all right? But at that stage, you can start bending the rules. Means you master that thing. You've done so many pullback trades that you feel like a pullback trade is down the corner. And though at that stage, you know that you can start taking a little bit more risky pullback trades in which you don't wait for perfect context signals to be given, but you can say, all right, I just got a target in here. We're trading at the context support area, Fibonacci cluster. Maybe I don't have the best of signal, or maybe I don't have any signals at all. I mean, you'll say, all right, out of, for example, I've got 6 conditions to check in my checklist to trigger that trade. I just got 5, but damn it, I've been taking that trade so many times. So 5 checks out of 6, maybe I should take the trade anyway, but with a lower leverage. Guess what? The day you do this, you're trading. You're a trader. You stop following rules. You created your own rules, but anytime you bend one rule, you know that risk is increasing. And that's simple as that. And by doing this all day long, naturally, you'll just get better at risk managing. Because sometimes you'll take too much risk and you'll figure it out instantly. You'll say, all right, oh, God damn it, no way. I'm not going to do it the next time. Maybe that was too risky. Maybe the next time I'll wait for slightly better signal. Even though that's not the perfect signal, I wait for more confirmation elements. It's just each person is different in there. That's why I don't give you a general rule, but just when you're trying to get yellow or after yellow getting to orange, the only thing you can do is try to risk take. But when you risk take, just lower the exposition to the trade accordingly. So you try to do something you still don't master, do it safely. And just time will do the job. By doing those risk-taking trades, you still have the backup plan behind it, all right? You're not focusing on those trades. You're still doing the job you do know how to perform. Like your range trade, you know how to deal with them. When you're yellow, the pullbacks, the reversals, the stuff like that, you handle them. You know how to deal with those shits. So anytime you see a reversal trade with normal signals, whatever, take the fucking trade. And just when you see some riskier trades, just try to take them. But really, like the greens in here, the same old problem shows up. At some point, greed can still be down the corner, and you're going to say, all right, maybe this time I will not reduce my leverage. I'm going to take more risk, but I'm not going to reduce the leverage. That's a mistake. You shouldn't nearly do that. And obviously, yellow guys will do this mistake far less than the green guys will do, because they'll have much more control over the greed biases, but you're still subject to greed as you're yellow. All right? And I'll teach you how to work with those things, obviously, into the dedicated day-to-day video. But now that you understood this, those processes and the problems that is going to be setting in between, I'm just going to explain you what risk management looks like to me. I've been taking another analogy that I've been somehow discovering with the French users earlier today, as I've been making those their version in French. Previously, I've been explaining you like, all right, what I'm trying to do with you guys is just like making you understand that you're just little babies learning to discover the world, all right? So first you crawl down the floor, then you start waking up, you start rising yourself on feet, start walking, running, and then discover the world, all right? That's great. Now let's get into a more darker vision, all right? Because this one is beautiful, it's like discovering life, but actually trading is not necessarily that beautiful, all right? Trading is just as beautiful and dangerous as the second example will be. So we've seen the marvelous thing of discovering life, I mean, all right, being a child, being foolish, whatever, that's great, that's positive. Now let's go into a more darker things, and the reality stands pretty much in between those two examples. Now let's figure out a more stressful situation. Consider trading being like a very, very dark room. You don't know shit about what the boundaries are of that room. I mean, it's totally black, all right? Though you can see any fucking thing, and you never ever manage to figure out the boundary, all right? You never come into a wall, all right? You know there's a roof over your head. You don't know how high it is. You don't know how far are the next walls. All you can tell is that you're sitting in this room, and first thing first, you can stay there, all right? Like, you don't see shit, which means you're probably panicking, all right? Your normal perceptions of senses are altered. In here, you can't see. You can hear stuff, and what you hear around there is pretty scary. Like you hear people falling into traps, all right? And you know that that's a reality, all right? When you get into trading, most people lose money. 80% of people end up stopping trading with a loss, all right? Though you know that most people in that room are just not happy, all right? Oh, in here, we're going to make things darker, so call them, all right, they're crying out because they've been falling into a trap. Though, anyway, you're into that room, you don't see shit, you don't know anything about what the hell you do in here, but you hear, all right? Though, first thing first, you're going to try understanding what the hell happens in here. You've got people screaming, and you know that it's dangerous. So that's the first thing you figure out. It's dangerous. Though, most people will just basically do nothing. That's the first error in here. Doing nothing is going to learn anything. You're not going to learn anything. All right? Though doing nothing for a bit, just trying to at least listen to whatever you can listen to, all right, that's fine. But once you figured out it's dangerous, then you have no other choice but to stop moving. All right? You can either stay where you landed and not moving. God damn it. I mean, just like we said earlier, I mean, it's just like life. Trading is like life. You can spend your life into a safe area, not moving and not doing shit, but your time is limited out there, so at least move, all right? But as you know it's dangerous, are you just gonna stand up and fucking run through the place? No, you won't. What you'll do is that you're naturally going to start moving and trying to understand what the fuck is going on. But the problem is, like I told you, it's a false friend. You'll never ever get it. You'll never understand what the hell you're doing here. You never understand what the hell that is. Because that's not what you're meant to be doing in trading. You're not here to understand what the fuck that is. You're here to make money. So be focused on what the money system is into that dark room. The dark room is altering all your senses, though it might be like feeling passionating to understand what the fuck is going on in anywhere. But anyway, these are just distractions to what you're actually here to do. So now that you understand that, let's add a few informations to that room. In that room, money is falling off the roof. All right? Each day, a limited amount of money is falling off the room. You don't know the size of the room. You just know that there is a limited amount of money that shows up in here, into random locations, into that stuff. You know that there are many people crawling into that area, and there is a limited time. All right, simply because the people moving the fastest will basically pick up the more money because they can cover bigger areas, though they can pick up the money down the ground. All right, that's a simple stuff. Now, let's add the difficulty, all right? Into that room, there are lots of traps, all right? Like, consider like pavements. They are safe pavements and dangerous pavements that can crawl, that fall below your feet, all right? But obviously, if you run into this pavement, all right, and if this one falls out, you're definitely falling down the roof, down the floor, all right? If you do it safely, you can still not fall in there, right? So if you go real slow, you can figure out the traps without falling in there, all right? The problem is, if you go too slow, you'll never figure out any fucking bill unless you're very lucky today and some bill have been falling right next to you, all right? So that's the safest way of trading, all right? You always in the safe area, you never do take risk. You're just going to be lucky at some point and take a little bit of money, or being unlucky and never will have any fucking bill showing up nearby. All right? All right, sorry. So, moving is essential in here. Moving too fast simply means you're going to fall into those dangerous pavements that will fall below your feet. Though you can't go too fast. All right, some people go definitely way too fast, but you don't really give a shit about that, all right? Remember that you're into that room and all you can figure out is what on your nearest surrounding. Like you can see 1 meter away from what the hell is happening in here. So you can see that some pavements are moving, or at least less stable. Though you're not going to put your feet on these ones. It's simple as that, all right? And the thing is that you'll start, as you evolve through that area, first of all, you walk very slowly, and you see that some pavements fall, all right? That's the first thing you discover, though you discover it's dangerous and stuff like that. And then you're going to start figuring out some patterns. Out of chaos, you're going to start figuring out patterns, because that's what every human being does out of chaos. We try to make sense of it. The only rational way to do it is to figure out patterns. Like I told you, the actual reality is that this is fucking random, all right? But as we do play in that room, we play with trading. And the fact is, trading is all just about people who trade. All right, the price moves according to what people do into trading. And the thing is that every people has the same bias as yours. When they're confronted to chaos, they try to make order out of it. That's simple as that. That's why patterns work in trading. Not because we can understand randomness, just because people try to make sense out of it. And though that influences their own decision, though the whole fucking thing follows patterns. Though this thing, no matter how dangerous that is and how random the traps will be scattered into the floor, there will be some hidden patterns. That doesn't mean the patterns will save your ass. That simply means those patterns will help you walk faster. Remember that the game in here is that if you walk faster, you're going to pick up more money. All right? In order to go faster, you're going to have to risk take. In order to risk take, you're going to have to risk limit. The only thing you can use to risk limit is fucking patterns. All right? There are some easy patterns with a very tight risk with a very tiny risk limitation, just like a taking profit pattern. Let's just transpose that example into that dark room context. The taking profit would be just like, all right, I've seen three pavements falling in the left, probably the next one is on the right, though this time I'm going to step into the left pavement instead of the right one, all right? I'm still not going to run both feet into that pavement. I'm still going to go safely, but I can go a little bit faster because 3 times wrong means I can be right the next time, right? That's just a typical taking profit pattern, very, very tiny risk limitation. You can definitely not go safe on this one, but you can go a little bit faster than the average speed you could have discovering those things. Just because in here you've got a pattern. Now let's figure out that another pattern is out of 7 pavements on the left, the 7th is generally on the right. All right? This one comes out of 8 occurrences and 7 in the same in the same side. Though in here this one shows up far less often, but this one definitely has a better risk management. All right? Though on this one, you can go a little bit faster. That doesn't mean you're not going to fall, it simply means you can go with a little bit more speed, and just by doing those things will increase your overall average speed, which means you're going to pick up more money, but the difference is you risk limit as you risk take. If you just risk take without risk limiting, you just end up fucking falling into the traps anyway because they're random. But out of this randomness, there are some patterns. If you learn those patterns and if you respect the strategy to not bend the rules, then normally you can safely increase the speed, but slowly. Does that mean you're going to run tomorrow? Definitely not. Tomorrow you're going to start walking up the same way, but just half of a percent faster. All right? That just considering it that way, it takes a freaking long time to have the safe level of confidence to go faster, because you need to learn new patterns and you need to master those patterns. In order to master them, you need to play them a significant number of times so they get familiar. All right? When they get familiar enough, then you can learn other patterns, and the more patterns you know, the more you'll come across those patterns, which means the more you'll be able to accelerate your own path and your own speed, to increase your speed, but doing it safely because you've got a pattern that allows you risk limitation. Like I told you, in a normal world, that would be just an illusion, because if the scattering is random, then you just don't have any advantage. But like I told you, we're not into the real world. In here, there is a different laws of physics. Like I told you, the market is definitely an illusion of the reality. It also has its own problem when it goes too far from reality, but the problem is anyway, that's how it works. Either you accept it or you don't. If that's too fearful for you to understand that you're going to have to move faster following fucking patterns, even though that doesn't mean you're not going to fall into a trap someday. Now, misconception. Those traps doesn't mean you'll die out, all right? Some traps are just, there is a falling pavement, but right below it, there is still ground. So you just, like, sometimes you're just injured, like you scratched your knees or something like that. Sometimes they are really, really badly hurting you. It's just how big the loss is, all right? Simple as that. Some traps are the one you definitely don't want to get into. They're deadly. Some traps are just, all right, you're going to get a scratch, whatever. It just keeps on going. Anyway, it was more profitable in those conditions to walk faster, to gather more bills, than taking a scratch on the knees. The scratching the knee is absolutely normal in those contexts. Now, the thing is that when you scratch your knee, you're going to have to pay, all right? Think about it. Any injury you got to pay for it. So you pick up money, all right, on your way through nothing, because you're not even getting nowhere. You're getting nowhere, right? You're just, as you move, you cover larger area, though you have bigger chances to pick up the bills that are scattered all over the place, right? Simple way to figure things out. Go too fast, you'll fall into deadly traps. Go as an average decent level of speed, you're going to fall into some traps, you're going to scratch your knees, and you're going to spend some of those bills that you picked up down the floor to pay for your medical expenses. Or you just fix your knees, all right? Considering it that way. If you, like, you just scratch your knee, you pay $10 and the knee just, and the knee scratch just disappears, all right? Instant disappearance. Though, as you get injured, you lose money. You start to understand how trading works, all right? When things go wrong, you pay. That's normal, and that's part of the job. If you can't accept being scratched on your knees, then stop playing that game, because it can't be done any different. That's just how life works. You want to enjoy life, all right? Just figure out the baby stuff, all right? When you learn how to bicycle, for example, first we've been putting you the side wheels, so we make sure you don't fall left or right. But if you don't move on, you'll never make fucking bike, all right? And then how do you do to sustain a bike to stand by without the wheels? Then, goddammit, you need to move forward. That's simple as that, with an average speed significant enough for you to be stabilized. That's the same thing we do in trading, all right? Though I give you the beautiful, nice way of doing things, all right, and the darker vision, all right? So both people can figuring out. The thing is that trading is more about the darker side, because like I told you, most people lose money into trading. Though talking about learning life and bicycle is more like a candid version of analogy to trading, but the reality, like I said, is pretty much like that, all right? So don't try to understand that shit, just like you don't try to understand life. You just live it. Life is a journey, all right? Don't try to make sense out of this. Understanding a bit is great. It's cool to at least try to make sense, all right? It's absolutely necessary, and you can't fight it. You're a human being, though you try to make sense out of something you can't understand. Right? But that's interesting to think about it. But into trading, who gives a shit? You're not here to understand trading. You're here to gather those fucking bills. So let's focus your attention into the bills process. All right? Then remember that previously I told you that the money was randomly scattered all over the place. The reality is that it looks random because you still haven't figured out pattern for this as well. But if you play with that room every day, every day, you're going to see so many times the money scattered all over the place that you'll start figuring out pattern with the money as well, which means you'll get even more efficient into gathering those bills, simply because that's how it is. The more you get into trading, the more you will be efficient. But you need to do it the right way. And like I told you, the mistakes are always the same. People stop moving because they feared too much. Like you've gone too fast, you just fall into a trap, so you were injured. So what do you do after an injury? You stop. You just stand by and you do nothing. You must walk again. But what you need to do is to avoid falling into the two dangerous traps, the one that force you to stop afterwards. Fall into tiny traps, it's no big deal. Like if you have to scratch your knees 10 times in a row and lose a little bit of money, it's no big deal. Normally, as you move on, you'll start picking up the bills anyway. At least enough bill to pay for the injuries. And learn that any injury is a lesson into this world. Most of people just don't even figure it out. They just fall, all right, scratch the knee and say, God damn it, what the hell happened to me, all right? They try to understand. Just don't, all right? Just don't. That scratch means you've been taking, just assess if you've been taking too much risk, or if this scratch is just absolute necessity, that it's pure chaos expressing itself. Like any fucking way, there are still some random patterns out there, and you'll fall into some traps even if you try harder not to do it. The only way not to fall into a trap is just to go inch by inch, and if you do this, you'll never pick up any fucking bill. So that's how it is. All right, I hope this version is much better than the one you had earlier today, for those who will watch both of them. I think it definitely is, though I'm much more happy with the job I've done right now than the one I did previously. I hope you learned quite some things in here today. Understand that anyway, time is of the essence in here. You've got limited time to get to be a trader, all right? You can't spend 10 years to learn. Average people can definitely spare like 2 years because they just got unemployed and they gonna have some payrolls and stuff like that keep on going for a little bit, all right? So jobless claims mean generally you got a little bit of money coming the next month, and all right, so that's sufficient enough to sustain your need for money in a day-to-day basis, pay your bill, whatever. Generally, people can hardly spend more than 2 years into trading, which means limited amount of time for you to get into being profitable without risk-taking. That is yellow collar, all right? Yellow collar generally means it's a I'll give you an average, all right? That's something I figured out of the community. So this is, you guys are enough for me to put actual reliable numbers, but be aware that those numbers still remain absolute estimations. So this is just to give you a glimpse of what that is. I generally tend to put profitability out of people like I'm teaching trading to, into the late stage of green to yellow. Like it's when you're mostly yellow that generally at that stage you just got out of losing money. You start to be profitable. Just a tiny bit, which means you're certainly not going to make 50% return out of a year with that. All right, you're just making tiny positive return. When you're doing this, that's great. That means you can you can say, all right, I'm not going to lose money anymore, and I'm going to start gaining a bit, all right? When you're definitely getting yellow, it means at that time you start being profitable. There are still rare drawdowns a little once in a while because of psychological biases, but you work them out just as you get to feel them, all right? But once again, you have to go down those holes as well to learn from the mistakes. It's simple as that, all right? So at that stage, yellow can be really profitable simply because they move fast enough to pick up more bills than the injuries they get, all right? They will still, a little once in a while, be overconfident or whatever into some biases. They'll try to go faster. They'll end up into a very dangerous trap that's probably going to cost them more than the average knee scratch, but still, they'll have the money to pay for it. But that will significantly put their money down, but normally they should still be profitable in the overall thing. And obviously, when you get orange at that stage, I don't even question your profitability. You generally all are at that stage. And obviously, the better you are, the more pattern you master, the more pattern you are comfortable trading with, though you can expose yourself to those patterns more precisely. And as you get to trade them, normally far more rewards, far better risk management, which means you fall into less traps and you get to trade and to gather way more bills. Though, it's just increasing profitability. Obviously, there is a roof limit in here because you can't just pick up too many bills, all right? There's only one way to get more money into trading. Either you pick more bills, but that means you run really fast and there is a speed limit. If you go too fast, remember that you've got 1 meter distance vision, which means if you're just running like an asshole, even if you think you're controlling things, sooner or later, you're going to end up into a very, very dangerous injury, and it probably will cost you the whole thing. So don't play that game. Really stupid as ever, all right? Just to give you numbers, a good trader, very good high-risk trader generally makes 100% a year without leverage. Once again, without leverage, and that requires a shit tons of trades, all right? We're not talking about 100 trades. We're talking about thousands of trades to get there, so tiny portions of risk, but repeated thousands of times, all right? And as you get to this, yeah, 100% is more than enough. So anything on top of that means you're running way too fast, way, way, way too fast, or you're using leverage. And leverage is, all right, let's just figure out what leverage would be into that dangerous trap. Leverage would just be increasing increasing the speed anyway. Like you're walking, but you're not walking, you're running anyway. Or another way means simply the level of dangerosity of each and every path walk is simply increased as much as you increase leverage. Like figuring out that out of 10 square meters, you basically have 5 traps, all right? Out of those 5 traps, 1 is deadly, 3 are dangerous, 2 are really harmless, all right? Now put leverage on this thing. What you have is just 1 harmless, 3 dangerous, 2 dangerous, and 2 very dangerous deadly traps, all right? So that's exactly how it is. You just make things deadlier. Though you may move slowly as well, but sooner or later you'll end up into the deadly trap. That's simple as that, all right? As I told you that any fucking way, running in the deadly traps is what you must never do. So why the hell would you increase their occurrences? You might want to keep them to a strict minimum, all right? Anyway, that being said, I'm saying things all over again. I think I've said more than enough in here. I wish you guys a pleasant day. I hope this not live recorded session still is good enough. But I think it's much better than what I put it out previously. Bye guys, see you later.